Influencers will have you thinking that you need to be budgeting every day, while financial planners are out there convincing you that you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars a year to have a plan. But what if I told you there's a way to achieve financial peace without that cost? Big thing that we're going to be covering today is financial planning versus budgeting. I'm going to show you the difference between the two. Then I'm going to show you what's important to your financial success, as well as show you what's a big waste of your time. Before we dig in, if you're new to the channel, welcome. To stay updated with the latest videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump into it. So there are two main differences when it comes to financial planning versus budgeting. Difference number one is the purpose. Budgeting is great for showing you where your money has gone, meaning past tense. And this is good if you're trying to track expenses or understand spending patterns. However, if you're trying to answer the question, what should I do with my money? That's where financial planning comes in. A financial plan will tell you how to allocate your money in order to hit your financial goals. And the second difference between financial planning and budgeting is the time involvement. Budgeting is an everyday thing where you're literally looking at every expense down to the penny. This constant monitoring can be very time consuming and overwhelming. And because you have so many expenses, it's going to be hard to manually input every single one of them. So you need the ability to link your accounts to an app. And let's face it, when you link accounts, they break all the time. Some financial institutions don't allow you to link. It can be a mess. In contrast, with the financial plan, you set it up and then you review it at key moments in your life. Specifically, there's 4 of them. The first time is when you're hitting a goal. So for example, let's just say your first short-term goal is to pay off credit cards. You do that, you review your plans, make any edits, move on. Key moment number 2 is when you have a major life event. So think of something like having children, getting married, buying a house. Number 3 is any major economic changes. So things like changes in interest rates, changes in inflation, changes in housing prices. And the 4th key moment is really just routine checks. You should be updating your plan every 1 to 3 months. And what I mean by updating it is just going in and saying, hey, these are my new balances in my 401k, IRA, whatever your balances are with your debt. These are the transactions I had. Like, this is how much money went to my 401k. This is how much money went to paying off my debt. And you do that every 1 to 3 months. That's what we recommend at Fitbux. At a minimum, you need to do that at least once a year. Now, earlier with budgeting, I said that because you're doing it daily, you need to link all your accounts to track all the transactions. With a financial planning app, you don't necessarily need to do that. So that's the key 2 differences between budgeting and financial planning: the purpose and time involvement. Now let's dive deeper into what truly matters for financial success. Now, in piecing all these moving parts together in your financial life, I found an easy way to categorize your money into 3 main categories: day-to-day money, money for future self, and risk management. Now, the key to financial planning is that second category, money for future self. And that consists of savings for short-term goals, retirement savings and investments, and paying off debt. The key to financial success is increasing how much money you're doing to money for future self over time. Now, to illustrate this, let's consider this example. Let's say you invest $100 a month for 40 years and earn 8% per year. After 40 years, it's $349,000. Now in scenario 2, you do exactly the same thing. You just make one change. And that change is every year you increase your investment by $25 a month. So this year you do $100 a month. Next year you do $125 a month. Next year you do $150 a month. The answer in 40 years increases to $1.24 million. So the key to financial success is understanding you need to increase how much you're doing to money for future self. Now, to make life less stressful, all you need to do is make sure that you're following the financial plan that you built. So for example, let's just say your plan calls for $300 a month going to your 401k, $50 a month going to your Roth IRA, and $1,500 a month going to student loans. Are you doing that every month? And importantly, are you increasing those contributions over time? Financial planning, you can track and easily do it without needing a day-to-day budget. But on the other side of that, if you do want a budget, it's completely ineffective unless you have a financial plan. Because budgeting apps ask for financial goals, but they don't provide you any strategic guidance. With that being said, people oftentimes bring up three scenarios with me about when they think they might need a budget. Sometimes you might, and sometimes you don't. So let's talk about those three scenarios next. The first scenario that people bring up with me is, well, what happens, Joe, if I go to build out my financial plan and I don't have any money to be able to put to money for future self? Which now, when that scenario happens, it's a common belief that they need to go to day-to-day money, that first category, which is income and expenses, and just cold turkey cut all their expenses. However, that's a major lifestyle change, and the probability of success is very, very low. Now, behavioral finance insights suggest a more effective approach. You choose one expense and you reduce it every single month. Let's just say, for example, you spend $500 a month on restaurants. Well, what your goal is over the next 40 days is to reduce that expense down to $400 or $450. And if you do that over 6 to 12 months, you end up freeing up quite a bit of money. So now you go to money for future self. The key point there is you still don't need to track all your expenses in a budgeting app. You only need to track one expense, the one that you identified to cut. Now, the second scenario is actually something that I do see all the time, and you do need a budget for it. And that is when you have your financial plan and you're not hitting your goals that you've identified. For example, if your plan says to pay $1,500 a month towards student loans, but you're only doing $1,300 a month. In such a case, you need to go back and build a budget to figure out why you're missing your financial planning goals. The historical budget will be helpful for identifying those expenses that you can reduce. And then you can reduce one of them at a time, like I talked about in scenario number one. But you can do that still without the need of having to track every single expense every month. You just need to still track the one that you identified that you want to reduce for those 30 or 40 days. And the third and last scenario of when you might need a budgeting app, it's just if it's your personal preference and you want to track it every day. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, about 30% of Fitbux members, they use our financial planning app to track their overall financial plan. And then they take that data with their financial goals and whatnot, and they put it into a budgeting app and track their day-to-day stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do, fantastic. Now, if you want a new way to approach your finances that's affordable and trustworthy, be sure to join the other 20,000 young professionals that have used Fitbux. You can sign up at fitbux.com. If you're not ready to take action on your financial plan yet and you want more educational content,